What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Natty News Daily. No idea where Dan is. He's supposed to be on with us right now, but at least James and I are here covering the episode today. He might hop in a little bit. We shall see. But we are joined by a pretty special guest who's got a pretty interesting story to tell. I can't wait to hear the details. Obviously, probably some spoilers in the title of this video and stuff like that. But Angel is here, and man, let's quickly get an introduction out of the way, and then we'll dive on into the nitty gritty.
Sure thing. So my name is Angel Casas. I'm 30 years old, natural bodybuilder. I've done 4 shows so far, competed in men's physique, classic physique, as well as open bodybuilding this year for the first time as a welterweight and as a middleweight. I'm also a stage 4 cancer survivor. I beat cancer a year and 4 months ago. I had stage 4 testicular cancer that had spread to both of my lungs, my liver, my lymph nodes. It was pretty much everywhere. And I'm happy to say that not only was I able to beat it, but I am also in the best shape of my life.
That's unreal, man. I just want to say, like, before we get too far into this, that's incredible. Congrats, of course. Like, you know, anybody that survives something like that is insane. And then to be where you are now, winning bodybuilding shows, I think is super cool. I just want to kind of read the message you sent me on the Natty News page, because I think this kind of just sums up why we do this. So you sent me, hey bro, ran across your page recently and really love everything you're doing for natural bodybuilding. So right there, man, James and I can attest to this, that we appreciate that, man. This is exactly why we do this, is you know, not only supporting natural bodybuilding, but giving athletes like yourself a platform to hopefully grow, you know, touch more people. Like, you are not the only athlete that's going through, will go through what you went through. So if this episode can help get people through that kind of stuff, then we've done our job, right? And obviously that is huge, right? So let's go back a little bit. Were you always interested in bodybuilding? Like, what was kind of your I guess introduction within the sport?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of got into bodybuilding by accident, so to speak. So I was always into athletics. Like, I started off with basketball when I was like in middle school, high school. And when I got to college, you know, I'm only 5'6", so you know, when I started growing,
shit, you're shorter than I am, and I'm not tall, man.
I realized that any dreams of like playing collegiately or you know, NBA was not going to happen, you know, just because of my stature. So I got into MMA for a while, like dabbled into that. And during a sparring session, my sophomore year, I subluxed both of my shoulders. So
James knows what that means.
Yeah.
So a dislocation that puts itself back in. Yeah.
Yes, very, very, very painful. It happened to both shoulders. So that cut my MMA career short with that.
You're just Xing sports off as you go.
Pretty much. So when everything was said and done, you know, I studied exercise science in college, and you know, one of my soon to be fraternity brothers, he was really like into bodybuilding and lifting, and you know, I was like, man, you know, like I got nothing else to do. You know, I'm pretty much injured to do everything else. Let me try lifting, you know, bodybuilding, and see how I like it. And I was hooked. Once I started to see results, like once I started to eat right, you know, 5 meals a day, you know, the whole, you know, get my newbie gain, so to speak, I was pretty much hooked. And I remember, like, I started this sophomore year of college, 2 years into it, made some pretty solid gains. And I remember everybody was like, you know, man, you should compete. Like, I responded really well. And I just never gave it any thought. And it wasn't until I had graduated a year later, I was studying to get into medical school, found myself in like a really dark place where I had gotten fired from my dream job that was supposed to get me into medical school. You know, again, had nothing to do. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should, you know, compete and see what this, competing lifestyle is all about.
Yeah.
And that's when I did my first competition in 2015.
Yeah.
How'd that one go for you? Talk about that prep just real quick.
I rather not. It went terrible.
See, you
That
did
sounds like a
everything we
first prep.
all did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
First prep. Yeah.
Pretty much
Was-
all the beginner mistakes. First off, I only gave myself 10 weeks to get prepared, so not enough time. Especially if you're natural. And I was self-coached as well. I thought I knew everything since I had that exercise science degree, and you learn very quickly once you compete that it's just so important to have those extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
And what happens in academia or in the research lab doesn't really translate necessarily into application in the gym and with shows. So I did one of the biggest shows. I think it was called the East Coast Championships, NPC East Coast Championships at the men's physique. I got 14th in my class. It was like third call outs, and I got 10th place for novice. So it was so bad that
Bit of a rough time then.
it was so bad that after prejudging, I didn't even come back to finals. I just ate pizza, and I was like, I'm glad that that's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, lesson learned, right? It's always a learning experience at first. I mean, even first few preps, right? You're still trying to figure things out. So at least you got some of the painful shots out of the way.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we know from what you said that you continued. Obviously, you're on this podcast, right? So we did 3 more shows. So that wasn't enough to really deter you. So you've been kind of bitten by the bug at this point, even regardless of those standings.
Yeah, it was more so like I couldn't I knew I was so much better than 10th and 14th place, and it kind of bothered me, for those 2 years until I stepped on stage again in 2017. It just really bothered me that I felt like I didn't show my true potential on what I could do. So I hopped back on stage. Classic Physique had come out. It was brand new, and I was like, man, this is perfect for me. I have that classic shape, and it went a lot better. I did the NPC Eastern USA's. It's like the biggest show, last show of the year over in New York, New Jersey, and most people use that to qualify for nationals. So it was a stacked lineup, and I was able to get 5th place in my class, and I got 3rd in novice. So
Right on.
Have
you only done NPC shows?
I've always done NPC shows, and I'm not even gonna lie, it wasn't until this year that I even knew anything about natural bodybuilding. Very similar to probably
we're on a mission to change that.
Yes, and it's not like everybody that comes into the sport, you hear about who do you hear about? You hear about Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler.
For sure.
You don't hear about Alberto Nunez, So it wasn't until this year that I really dove into it, that I was like, wow, there's this whole other side of bodybuilding.
Yep, it's very similar. So I'm from Canada, right? So we have the CPA, which is under the IFBB. So it's basically our version of the NPC. And it's very similar that, I remember when I was telling people, they were asking me what shows I was doing, and I'd say, oh, I'm going to New York to do WMBF, I'm going to do OCB and all this kind of stuff. And they were like, I don't even know what that means. Right. And it's like you said, it's still very much that unless you're really into natural bodybuilding, right? If someone's just into bodybuilding, they're only going to know more often than not the IFBB and thus the NPC and stuff like that, right? So it like you said, this year obviously you've kind of broadened your horizons a little bit and be like, oh, there's actually more stuff going on out there. But yeah, we're hoping to continue trucking forward and educating people on the sport.
Yeah. So did hearing about some of the other options you have sway you into maybe competing in some of the other organizations going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally want to do a natural show and see how I do. I would have done it this year if I wasn't so burnt out from I've been prepping for 7 months, and after this show, I was kind of like, I need an off season to
Yeah,
just,
for sure.
recover, but definitely that next season, it would be something that would
Yeah.
intrigue me.
Yeah, I think for you, like looking at your page, like if you did like
Yeah.
OCB and jumped in classic physique, like you would do really well. Really, really well.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Let's shift gears a little bit to kind of
Mhm.
the main point I want to talk about, which is you kicking cancer's ass. So what was how do I put this? Like, how did it start? Like,
Mhm.
were you sick and then they found it? Like, what was that whole process?
Yeah, sure. So everybody asks me that, like, especially because, you know, me being out of, I've always, promoted, on my page, like I coach people, for a living.
Yep,
I always, have been, anybody who knows me, knows I've always been about fitness, health. So it was a real shocker, to
for sure.
find out, that this would happen to
Yeah.
me. So I had felt a lump on my left testy around, I remember it like it was just yesterday. It was Mother's Day, May of 2018. And I remember we were going out for dinner, went to the bathroom, felt it, and I was like, man, that's weird. It was like a small little bump that I felt. And I was like, that wasn't there before, but,
Yeah.
didn't think anything of it, didn't feel any like
Like no
symptoms,
pain or anything?
no pain, nothing,
Yeah.
so didn't really think anything of it. And then over the years, I noticed that it had grown significantly, but as dumb as it sounds, and in hindsight, it was really dumb for me not to get it checked out because of the fact that I didn't feel any pain. There was like nothing wrong, like sexually, like nothing,
Yeah.
like I was like, this is probably nothing. Like maybe it's a hernia or something. It was typical guy response. Like,
I was literally just gonna say that. That's such a man thing to do, right? Like it doesn't hurt. I'm fine. We'll worry about it later kind of deal. So,
Mhm.
For those listening, take that line right there, that
Mhm.
little snippet that he just said, and hammer that into your brain because, go on. Because clearly it wasn't nothing.
no, it wasn't. And oddly enough, it wasn't until COVID happened. I'm originally from New York and I was there at that time. Right now I'm in Miami, but COVID hit New York super hard with lockdown and all the restrictions. And I had all this time on my hands, and I was like, well, maybe I should go get this checked out, since there's nothing to do. And when I
Got nothing better to do.
So when I got it checked out, they made me go get an ultrasound. It sounded very suspicious from the get, and when I got the results, it was
Wow.
confirmed. It was cancer, and it it definitely was a shocker. For sure. Like
Mhm.
cancer, nobody's ever really ready. There's no right age. I would say that anybody's ever ready to hear that word.
Yeah.
But at 28 years old, best shape of your life at that time,
Yeah.
you certainly don't expect to hear that.
Mhm.
Damn. Damn. So then you find out what comes next. We got to get this surgery. What's the process there?
Yeah, so what they did was they referred me to a oncologic urologist who basically they specialize in cancer, male
Yeah.
parts. He assessed me. They ran some blood work, and then I was sent to go get surgery to get the left testy removed.
Hmm.
Now, in the best case scenario, you're done.
That's it.
They just take it out, and you're good to go, and you're cured. That's what you hope for. But I remember right before the surgery, a couple of days prior, they had done some blood work, and I don't know why you would tell a patient this right before the surgery, but the surgeon told me right before. They were like, "Hey, your blood work seems it's very elevated with the tumor markers. There's a good chance that this has spread." So to give you an idea, one of the markers that they use to gauge testicular cancer is something called beta HCG, right? So in a normal healthy male, that level is like less than like 2, right? My numbers right prior to surgery were over 100,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, he was like, yeah, it's pretty much certain that this had spread. So got the surgery done. They told me to go get a CT scan to see where I was at afterwards, to see how much it had spread. And, that was quite honestly, that period from the surgery to getting the results from my CT scan probably were like the worst 2 to 3 weeks of my life, where like the news just kept getting worse,
Yeah.
worse and worse. On the CT scan, it had shown that it had spread, like I told you guys, to my liver, both of my lungs, my lymph nodes. And that's when they told me that I would have to undergo through 4 cycles of chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit, man. That's like making me emotional listening to that shit, man. Like, you're 28 years old. I can't imagine, like what that must have felt like.
It was very hard. I remember, as when the doctor called me back after receiving the CT scan results, I imagine there's no easy way, to
Yeah,
break that news to somebody.
for sure.
But I'm here like getting myself prepared, trying to pull more info out of him. And when he tells me that I have to do chemotherapy, I'm like, okay, doc, well, what stage am I in? And he goes, well, you're stage 4. Which is the last stage. So I go, okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means you're going to have to go through 4 very harsh cycles. And he honestly told me, he said, good luck at the end of the call. And, I did my research. I was like, okay, like what anybody would do, like stage 4, what are my odds?
Yeah.
And, for my particular testicular cancer, there's many variants of it. I had a mixed germ cell tumor, which is again like the worst possible type you could get. And I had a 20 to 50% chance of survival. So less than a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I'm like speechless a little bit, not gonna lie.
Yeah. How do you follow up with that, right? Like so yeah, obviously you jumped right into that. Talk to us if you're open with talking about it, right? Like, we don't want to push you further than what you're willing to share. Like,
I'm an
the
open
thought
book.
okay. So the thought process during that time, right? Like, your struggles
where's your
are
head
like your struggles are exponentially higher than anything else I've ever heard of, right? For the most part. But everyone has some level of struggle. So like, someone who's been through shit come out the other side and is succeeding. Like, I want to hear what's going on in here.
I mean, to be quite honest, when you get news like that, I'll just be, I cried, I cried. I took the day, to feel sorry for myself, to be sad, to ask, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Like, this is some bullshit. I've always taken care of myself, and meanwhile, I have friends who don't work out, they smoke. I've never smoked a cigarette before. I don't drink, I don't do any of those things. And like, fuck, like, why is this shit happening to me? So, you have to ask yourself those things. It's just human nature, to go through that. But I remember telling myself after that day, okay, listen, Angel, this is your scenario right now. There's nothing you can do, to change it. You can't go back in time and get yourself checked out. You're faced with the here and now. Now, what are you going to do to get better? And it was simple as that. And from there onwards, it was me, like, I typically have this type of mentality for anything that I really want to get good at, whether it was bodybuilding. Like, when I'm competing, I study everything about bodybuilding, about contest prep, about, how to make it optimal. I've always had that mindset. So I did the same thing. with this, I looked up, okay, like what type of diet should I be on? What are the foods that I should be introducing to my body? What workouts are going to be optimal, like all that shit, and I just tried to stay as positive as possible, and really stick to, I would say that period in time, like bodybuilding and fitness really saved my life, because it was the only thing that I felt that I really had, that I could really like hold on to. We were locked down. I mean, imagine this, it's COVID, you break out the news on social media that you have stage 4 cancer. People want to support you. People want to be there for you, but they can't because you're at risk for getting sick. Plus you have a already, compromised immune system from all the treatments and stuff. What else do you have? Well, I have these weights that I bought, I can do push-ups, I can do, pull-ups, like fitness gave me something to look forward to. And it was that thing where, I kid you not, I knew that I would feel shitty right after chemotherapy. That's just the nature of it. Like it's one of the worst feelings you can go through, honestly. It's like a hangover, like time, like it just does not go away. Tired, no energy for nothing. I knew I would feel that way. So what I would do is I would go work out prior to my infusions in the morning, and I'd go to the hospital afterwards. And I remember going with my gym bag to the hospital, and like the staff would just look at me like if I'm crazy, like, what is this guy doing? Like what? And tell them like, yeah, I just finished working out. I'm gonna stay working out. And it really helped me out a lot. If you look at, I documented all this stuff and put it on IG. If you look back at that time period, you'll see that I responded really well to the treatment. I didn't go through any major like muscle loss or weakness. And a lot of that was because I made sure that my body was not frail.
Yeah. That's an incredible story, man. That's super, super incredible.
Yeah. Well, so just even like putting pieces together here, right? Like we heard this story, but like the timeline of when it happened, I hadn't even considered, right? Like what you said with COVID and lockdowns and things like that. I mean, that was one of the most isolating times of anybody's life. And then now you have this world-shattering news dropped on top of you, so you literally can't have a support system. I mean, that's just, yeah, no words for how that must have been. But I'm glad that you had the outlet that you did have, obviously.
You're a powerful person, man. This is incredible. I'm glad we could have had this conversation. It's definitely, given me some perspective that I will carry with me. Not gonna lie.
Appreciate it.
So before we close this out, where are you at now with, obviously you've beat that's behind you, with bodybuilding and stuff, where are we at?
So right now, my goal is, I felt like I said, when this happened to me, I felt a need to document it, because while I was going through, my fight and my battle, that's what I needed. That's what I did. I looked at testimonials of cancer survivors, and that gave me hope, to know that it was possible to beat this. So, me being me, I wanted to take that to the next level and say, hey, not only can you beat, stage 4 cancer, something that's like really tough to beat, but you could actually be even better than when you were, pre-cancer. So, that was the real motive, to get back on stage and compete. And I've just found myself loving the process like more and more, as I've competed, more and more. So, as far as bodybuilding is concerned right now, I'm thinking of picking up prep again, most likely doing a show like next May,
Cool.
Qualifying for nationals, trying to get my pro card. But I'm also wanting to hear you guys' perspective on the natural bodybuilding organization. So
Yeah,
you see how we fit that in the plans as well.
oh yeah. We'll be able to guide you along those lines. We'll enlighten you on the game that you're missing.
Yeah.
Amazing,
It's
man. What's some last words? Let's finish this off. Something for the guy that's listening that's maybe sick, maybe he's got some bad news, whether it's cancer related or not. What do you tell that guy?
I tell him that I'm a living, breathing example that, just your disease does not, it does not control your situation. It does not define you. At the end of the day, you can't control your genetics. You can't control, the parents that you came from, whatever life circumstance, but you can control what you do with that circumstance and how you perceive it, and how you proactively go about it. So I tell them to keep fighting, just like I did. You don't have to have cancer to be a survivor. I really believe that in our own way, in our own struggles, we're all survivors.
Yeah, damn. That's amazing, man. I think it's a beautiful way to end it. For those that want to follow you, stay in touch with your journey. Maybe they got questions for you one-on-one. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. Check me out on Instagram, 50 shakes of way _.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to check out, the bodybuilding journey, we documented everything on YouTube. It's called the Survivor Series. It's going to be 5 episodes long. We're working on the 5th episode. We documented the whole process, just more in depth on, why I decided to do this and, the motive behind, inspiring people.
Amazing. All right, people, you heard it there. If you want to get in touch with Angel, you heard the details there to reach out to him and touch base. And we thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I think this was an amazing story. I know this is probably something James and I are going to talk about off air about how buzzed we are after hearing this. So thank you. I appreciate you.
No, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this episode, which obviously you did, give it a like, subscribe to us for future episodes, follow Angel there on Instagram and YouTube as well, and show him some support. He's a very powerful individual. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.